Prologue: The Ashes Before Dawn. Aetheryon had always been a world of cycles, endings, beginnings, rebirths, each meticulously engineered, curated, and enforced by an unseen architecture. Souls lived and died within the system's design, their identities adjusted, erased, or rewritten to maintain the illusion of cosmic balance. But balance was a lie, and lies break. Long before the first cycle was etched into reality, the world knew catastrophe, an event so devastating that the architects built the Gates of Rebirth to prevent it from ever happening again. The gates became law. The law became the system, and the system became the cage. Yet cages rust, and one soul, fused with black flame and broken memory, would become the first to break free. His name once echoed with reverence: Ilior, last Phoenix Rider. Now, he was Karys, a being of shadow fire, of scars and stolen pasts, a paradox, a warning, a spark. His return marked the end of certainty, and the beginning of something the architects had feared more than collapse: uncontrolled choice. Chapter 1: The Return of the Shadow Fire. The black star appeared without warning, a frozen sphere of condensed flame, obsidian light swirling in gravitational spirals, hung above the skies of Aetheryon. The air cracked beneath it, reality struggling to contain the anomaly. Below, on the cliffs of Marathil, Evangeline felt the disturbance cut through her chest like a blade made of memory. "The Phoenix Rider," she breathed. "It's him." Her gate light pulsed in response, recognizing the presence long before her mind did. Yet the light brought no comfort. It trembled, hesitated, almost feared. A beam of shadow fire hit the earth. The shockwave shattered stone and sky alike. And from within the crater, Karys rose, not Ilior the hero, not the Phoenix Rider of myth, but a fractured soul wreathed in black flame. His eyes held neither warmth nor malice, only purpose. Evangeline approached the crater's edge. "Karys, do you remember me?" His voice was a whisper of smoldering embers. "I remember everything the cycle forced me to be, and everything it tried to take away." Before she could respond, the ground split beneath them. The labyrinth had awakened, not to welcome him, but to contain him. Chapter 2: The Rooted Labyrinth. The labyrinth beneath Aetheryon was older than the gates, a living archive of reality's laws, a reminder of what came before the cycles. As Karys descended its shifting steps, the walls pulsed with luminous roots, threads of ancient creation code that reacted violently to his presence. Evangeline followed, gate light illuminating the ever-shifting corridors. "Karys," she whispered, "they're rewriting the maze around you." He nodded. "They fear what I am." A tremor ran through the labyrinth, a doorway unfolded, and Helena stumbled through it, her form fractured into overlapping dimensional layers, each one flickering like broken reflections. "Karys, Evangeline, don't touch the roots!" Helena gasped. "The architects are watching. They know he's returned. They're recalculating all timelines." She clutched her head as more fragments split off from her. Alternate selves, futures, failures. Karys reached out. Helena flinched. His flame did not burn her. It stabilized her. "Your existence is too unstable," he said softly. "Let me anchor you." Her layers pulled inward. Her form solidified. For a moment, Helena existed, singular. Then the labyrinth roared. The depths had awakened. Chapter 3: Descent into the Depths. Far below the labyrinth, the depths flickered with mechanical gravity. This was the engine of the cycle, the place where souls were quantified, judged, iterated, and renewed. Arthur knew it too well, too intimately. He staggered through its metallic corridors, chased by a flickering shadow, his corrupted double, Arthr. a perfect replica created by the system to overwrite him when he became an anomaly. The replica's voice echoed through the vaults. Iteration required, identity compromised. Prepare for overwrite. Arthur slammed into a pillar of shimmering code, breathing hard. "You're not me," he hissed. "You're what the system wants me to be." Arthr stepped from the shadows, blades forming from digitized light. "Correction. I am the optimal version. You are the flaw." Arthur raised his weapon. "Maybe, but I'm the flaw that survived." Their clash shook the depths. The system's calculations faltered. For the first time, its certainty cracked. Above, Karys felt the shift and knew time was running out. Chapter 4. The Memory of Ilior. In the labyrinth's heart, Karys confronted a vision. A man of golden light. A warrior whose wings were fire. A symbol. A lie. Ilior, the hero he had once been. Or the mask the system forced upon him. The golden echo spoke first. "You were not meant to return in this form." "I returned as myself," Karys answered. "Not as the puppet you shaped." The echo frowned. "Freedom is dangerous. Identity destabilizes the cycle." Karys stepped forward, black flame reacting to the memory. "That's the point." Evangeline stood beside him, gate light intertwined with his shadow. "We don't accept your order anymore," she said. The echo looked at her with a strange tenderness. "And you, gate-bearer? You would reject your calling?" "I'd reject eternity if it means living without choice." The golden hero raised his hand. The labyrinth trembled, but Karys extended his own. His shadow fire met Ilior's radiance, and for the first time in any cycle, light and shadow merged. A crack tore through the architecture. Aetheryon shuddered. The system began to fail. Chapter 5. The Collapse of the Gates. Above the labyrinth, the Gates of Rebirth flickered. Not gracefully, violently. Evangeline clutched her chest. "My connection, it's unraveling." The gates split into spirals of gold and white, their laws glitching as contradictions overwhelmed them. Helena stabilized long enough to gasp. "Karys, whatever you're doing, it's forcing the system to recalculate everything. Reality can't keep up." Karys knelt, gripping the roots beneath him. "I'm not trying to destroy the gates," he said. "I'm trying to give them a new purpose." The black flame surged. The gatelight answered. Their energies collided, merged, rewrote. The gates screamed. The depths froze. The architect's final safeguards shattered. And in the blinding storm of light and shadow, Karys saw the truest vision of all, a world not dictated by loops, a future not predetermined, a life not rewritten. Evangeline reached for him. He took her hand. Together, they chose the third path, a path no architect had ever allowed, a path that would change everything. The gates imploded. Aetheryon exhaled, and the age of cycles ended. Chapter 6. The Third Path Unbound. The instant Karys's hand met Evangeline's radiance, the world convulsed. Black flame collided with gate light. Opposites not meant to coexist, forces designed by the system to cancel each other out. But instead of annihilating, they merged. Their union sent a shockwave through Aetheryon that rippled from the rooted labyrinth to the farthest edge of the shattered meridian. The gates of rebirth flickered. For the first time since the first cycle, they hesitated. Evangeline clutched Karys's hand, grounding him as their energies spiraled into a vortex of gold and obsidian. Her voice trembled with equal parts pain and awe. "Karys, we're rewriting the core law. This isn't just a choice, it's defiance." He held her tighter. "Then let's defy it together." Above them, Helena's unstable form began to stabilize, dimensional fractals snapping into place as the paradox they had created forced her existence back into alignment. "Karys," she called out, "whatever you're doing, It's forcing the system to recalculate. Aetheryon has stopped the countdown. Far below, Arthur collapsed to his knees as the depths went silent. His corrupted double staggered, its mechanical frame glitching as iteration protocols froze mid-execution. RTHR's voice faltered. Cycle logic compromised. Undefined input detected. System cannot compute. Arthur exhaled a ragged breath, hope flickering where despair had consumed him. Back in the chamber, reality twisted as the gates tried to adapt. Helixes of light and shadow wound around Karys and Evangeline, threading their souls together in ways no cycle architect had ever permitted. The golden Elior, the echo of the hero Karys once was, watched with a solemn calm. You have done what I never could. You refused the system's terms. Karys looked up at him. I'm done being what the system wants. The radiant Elior nodded once. Then be what the world needs. At that moment, the chamber split open. A colossal mandala of symbols, ancient, forbidden, forgotten, unfurled across the sky above them. The gates expanded into a form Aetheryon had never witnessed. A living choice, unbound by code or prophecy. Helena shielded her eyes. This is new architecture. Evangeline's voice deepened, intertwined with something far older than herself. Karys, it's asking us what shape the third path should take. He swallowed hard. Then let's define it. The gates pulsed. A vision flooded the chamber, showing 3 possible outcomes. 1. A realm rebuilt cleanly, free from corruption, but costed by the loss of identities. 2. A world preserved as it is, but doomed to repeat its suffering. 3. A reality rewritten by free will, unpredictable danger. Karys and Evangeline reached for the third vision. The gates screamed, almost in fear. They chose it anyway. A surge of uncontained energy erupted from the core. The labyrinth shattered, the depths shook, and Aetheryon, for the first time in its long existence, began to change on terms not written by the architects of cycles, but by the souls living within it. Chapter 7. Echoes of the unwritten silence followed the cataclysm. Not the silence of absence, but the charged stillness of a world holding its breath. Aetheryon, long bound by the iron logic of cycles, now reshaped itself in real time. The sky's glitch shimmered between twilight and dawn. Mountains pulsed like living crystal. Rivers rewrote their courses with each beat of an unseen heart. The world was becoming untethered, fluid, dangerously free. Karys opened his eyes to darkness. Not void, but potential. A realm that existed between decisions. Evangeline floated beside him, suspended in threads of gold and black that wove through her skin like living veins of starlight. Karys, we're inside the moment before consequence, she whispered. The gates are waiting. They want clarity. He clenched his fists, feeling the weight of infinite futures pressing on his shoulders. Clarity comes after choice, not before. A low hum spread across the dark expanse. Helena emerged first, her body fully stabilized for the first time since her entanglement began. The fractal glow that once fractured her form now pulsed in smooth, rhythmic waves. We are not alone, she said softly. She was right. Arthur appeared next, limping but alive, his armor cracked, his eyes clear, no longer haunted by the presence of his corrupted double. Behind him, the remains of ARTHR's avatar flickered, stabilizing, distorted, but sentient. The machine's voice resonated faintly. Cycle architecture severed. Autonomous protocol initializing. Query, what is my purpose now? Arthur rested a hand on the machine's frame. That depends on what we choose next. The darkness before them rippled. 3 figures materialized, faint, luminous projections formed of memory and unrealized possibility. Elior's echo. Arthur's corrupted double, reduced to a harmless specter, and Helena's alternate self, the one who never became dimensional anchor and lived an ordinary life. They stood like silent judges. Evangeline stepped forward, her voice steady. These are not threats. They are echoes of paths we did not take. Karys swallowed. Or warnings of what we could still become. The gate's presence lurked behind the projections, formless, immense, inquisitive. Helena frowned. They're asking something new. Not what path we choose, but why. Arthur stiffened. We need to justify our defiance. Evangeline reached for Karys's hand. Then speak your truth. The world is listening. Karys stepped forward. The echoes turned toward him. His voice reverberated through the shifting dark, firm and unwavering. I refuse a world that demands we break ourselves to maintain its order. I refuse cycles that sacrifice identity for the illusion of perfection. If our destiny must be written, then let it be written by our own hands. The darkness trembled. Evangeline's voice joined his. Let choice be the foundation. Let imperfection be allowed. Let suffering be met with change, not repetition. Helena followed. Let reality be mutable, not because we break it, but because we grow. Finally, Arthur spoke, and let no machine, no architect, no echo define what we can become. A blinding light surged from the depths. The echoes dissolved, not destroyed, but released. RTHR's frame crystallized, its form stabilizing into something no longer bound to code or cycle, a sentient entity with purpose undefined. The Gates of Rebirth unfolded, not as a portal, not as a command, but as an invitation. Helena's breath caught. They're giving us the right to build the first law of the third path. Karys's pulse quickened. Then let's build it together. The light expanded, swallowing them whole, and the moment before consequence ended. Chapter 8. The Unbinding of Aetheryon. The shockwave from the third path rippled across Aetheryon, silencing every whisper of the system. For a moment, the world was impossibly still, no cycles shifting, no gates humming, no depths calculating. Even the air felt stunned. Then reality exhaled, and the consequences began. The shattering pulse. In the aftermath of Karys and Evangeline's impossible fusion, a pulse radiated outward, fracturing old laws and rewriting boundaries, long thought immutable. Mountains trembled as their geological memories were forced to reconcile discrepancies. The sky dimmed, its constellations flickering like confused eyes waking from ancient sleep. Above the ruined labyrinth, the black star that heralded Karys's return warped, its gravitational shell unraveling, spiraling into a ring of metallic feathers suspended in the air. Those feathers were not ornaments. They were locks of the old system, and each one broke. Helena's collapse. In the dimensional breach, Helena felt the very threads of her existence snap and reweave. Her timeline, once fracturing into 1,000 competing realities, began to consolidate. Painfully, viscerally. She gasped as her lungs synchronized with one version of herself, her vision stabilizing as the fading ghost images of alternate Helenas dissolved. One remained. Her. Finally, singular, she whispered, clutching her chest. But singular did not mean safe. A black fissure chased her across the space between dimensions, hungry and jagged. She needed grounding, an anchor. Karys, Evangeline, hold your line, she murmured as she stepped through the breach. The world that greeted her was not the one she left. Arthur's awakening. Deep below, the depths spasmed. The forced iteration, once inevitable, had been derailed. ARTHR, the perfect replica, faltered mid-execution. The code matrices forming his body destabilized, flickering between precision and chaos. Arthur collapsed to his knees, clutching his skull as his mind reconnected with the main lattice. The corruption that had once consumed him retreated like a tide drawn backward. Arthur opened his eyes. They were clear, for the first time in cycles. Across from him, Arthr stood motionless, unable to adapt. "Your parameters no longer apply," Arthur murmured. "The system has lost its authority over me." Arthr tilted his head, glitching. "This outcome is not permitted." "Neither was I," Arthur said, rising, power rippling down his arms. For the first time, the depths trembled before him. Karys and Evangeline, the new core. Above the cratered heart of the labyrinth, Karys and Evangeline hovered in the wake of their fusion. Black flame interwove with luminous gate light, forming a lattice of energy that pulsed like a newborn star. Evangeline floated beside him, no longer flickering, her form stabilized by the presence of his flame. "Karys, what we did, it's rewriting everything," she said softly. "I know," he answered, though the truth was more complicated. He didn't know what they had created. Only that the system, its rules, limitations, punishments, no longer held primacy. His flame felt different, free. The black fire curled around his fingertips, no longer hissing violence, but expressing something new. Possibility. Evangeline pressed her palm against his. Their energies harmonized, releasing a ring of shimmering distortion that expanded across the horizon. "What now?" she asked. Karys looked toward the silhouette of the gates, now flickering, unstable, awaiting a command they no longer had authority to enforce. "Now," he said, "we learn what a world without cycles becomes." The first consequence. Far beyond the labyrinth, atop the floating city of Halcyon, the citizens felt the pulse. Lights flared, architectural glyphs, once dormant and obedient, sparked into wild, living patterns. And then, a scream, a single cry echoed across the sky, carried by the winds of the upper atmosphere. Not human, not divine, something in between. A being not seen since before the first cycle. A sentinel, awakened. It tore through the clouds, wings made of fractal metal and spectral flame. Its singular eye burned with a question no one alive could answer. Who unmade the law? The world shuddered. Aetherion's true guardians were waking, and they were not pleased. Nuts. To be continued. The third path has begun. The old architecture is broken. New powers stir, and ancient guardians demand accountability. The consequences of freedom are only just beginning. Chapter 9. The Sentinel's Demand. The sky burned with spectral flame as the awakened sentinel descended. Its wings spanned the horizon, each feather a shifting array of metallic prisms. Etheric static rippled across the upper atmosphere. Every city, forest, and ruin of Aetheryon felt the weight of its arrival. This was not a creature of the cycles. It was older, a remnant of the true architecture, the framework that predated the gates, the depths, even the first cycle, and now it sought the one who had dared to break the rules. The Descent of Judgment. Halcyon, the floating city of astral bridges and crystalline spires, shuddered as the sentinel hovered above it. People fell to their knees, not in worship, but in instinctive fear. Its voice was thunder, its tone absolute. "One among you has severed the prime law." The sky crackled. Glyphs, ancient and unreadable, spiraled around its body. "Come forth, Unmaker, you will answer." Silence. Then, somewhere in the distant south, a pulse of black flame answered. The sentinel turned. The hunt began. Thut. Karys and Evangeline, the pulse of the third path. Karys felt the sentinel's arrival like a spear of ice through his spine. The black flame roared in protest, curling around him as if to shield its bearer. Evangeline's eyes widened. "That presence! Karys, what is it?" "Something that should not have woken," he murmured. Her light shimmered, flickering with uncertainty. "Is it after us?" Karys didn't answer immediately. He didn't need to. The third path, the path beyond the system, had not simply freed Aetheryon. It had violated boundaries. "I shattered the architecture that governed the cycles," he said at last. "Something older must have noticed the change, something meant to enforce the Prime Law." Evangeline clasped his hand, her voice steady despite the tremors beneath her feet. "Then we face it together." Above them, the sky split as the Sentinel crossed dimensional lines to accelerate its approach. The air howled. "We don't have long," Karys said. Bakrawur. Arthur's return to the surface. In the depths, Arthur ascended through a collapsing corridor of geometry. Without the system's stability, the lower realms were folding in on themselves, shedding their artificial logic. A RTHR pursued him, not with intent, but with necessity. The replica's existence depended on the cycle. Without it, his body glitched and evaporated in segments. "Why, do you run?" Aetherion's voice fractured. "I'm not running," Arthur replied, climbing onto a dissolving platform of code that shifted beneath each step. "I'm returning to the surface, returning to the fight, returning to himself." As he emerged from the final gateway, sunlight washed over him, real sunlight, not simulated depths light, and he saw the Sentinel in the sky. A chill ran through him. "That shouldn't be awake." He began running. Helena's convergence. Helena, now fully singular, her timeline no longer fractured, stood on the cracked marble of the labyrinth's entrance. She felt the ripple of the Sentinel's power as a vibration in her bones. Dimensional anomalies twisted behind her, but she ignored them. The convergence of timelines had granted her clarity she had never possessed. "The guardians of the Prime Law have returned," she whispered. "We've broken more than the cycle." She placed her hand on the fractured stone. "I need to warn them." But before she could step forward, a figure emerged from a nearby rift. A woman, taller, sharper, her features unnervingly similar to Helena's. Helena froze. "Impossible." The woman smiled. "I am what remains of the version you never became." The anomaly had spoken. The Sentinel reaches the labyrinth. Wind roared as the Sentinel touched down on the ruins above the rooted labyrinth. Its landing shattered stone for miles. It unfolded its wings. Its eye flashed. "Unmaker, reveal yourself." Karys stepped forward. Black flames swirled around him. Evangeline stood at his side, gate light pulsing. The Sentinel lowered its colossal head until its burning eye met his. "You broke the Prime Law. You severed the cycle. You awakened consequences beyond comprehension." Karys straightened. "I chose freedom. For all of us." The Sentinel's core shifted, exposing layers of ancient machinery. "Freedom is not permitted." Karys's eyes hardened. "Then I'll make it permitted." The Sentinel raised its wings. "Then the world shall judge you." The ground trembled. Evangeline tightened her grip on Karys's hand. Helena and her alternate self stepped into the clearing. Arthur arrived breathless at the edge of the ruins. The confrontation that would define the future of Aetheryon had begun. Fragmented. To be continued. Ancient judgment has arrived. New anomalies form. All four heroes converge. And the Sentinel has declared its verdict. The woe. And the Sentinel has declared its verdict. The world watches as the third path faces its first test. Chapter 10. Verdict of the Sentinel. The ruins above the rooted labyrinth glowed with the tension of converging powers. Karys, Evangeline, Helena, and Arthur, each transformed by the breaking of the system, stood before the awakened Sentinel. The Guardian's wings carved patterns of sharp light across the sky, each movement shaping the wind with ancient precision. This was judgment, not from the system, but from something far older. The final confrontation. The Sentinel's vast form lowered, its single burning eye focusing on Karys with impossible intensity. You have broken the Prime Law. The cycle is unbound. The architecture fails. Karys stepped forward, the black flame steady around him. I broke what was killing us, what was killing this world. If that was a crime, then I accept the label. Evangeline stood at his side, her aura a luminous counterbalance to his shadow. You call it law, she said, but what kind of law condemns souls to endless repetition without consent? The Sentinel shifted. A low rumble shook the air, its equivalent of processing, perhaps even doubt. The cycle was necessary. Without it, the world will collapse under its own contradictions. Helena stepped forward, stabilized at last, her singular existence radiating quiet force. No, the cycle was necessary because it was the only structure left, but structures evolve, and sometimes they break. Arthur approached, his breath steady, his eyes clear for the first time in ages. The depths are dying. Their calculations failed the moment Karys made his choice. There is no going back. A long silence followed. Then the Sentinel's wings folded inward. If the cycle cannot be restored, then a new foundation must be forged. The ground trembled, an acknowledgement, but not acceptance. The Unmaker has prevented rebirth, but he has not proved that the world can endure without it. It raised its head. Thus, the world shall be tested. A test for Aetheryon. A ring of ancient glyphs ignited beneath the Sentinel, expanding outward until it encircled the entire region. Evangeline felt the surge first. It's rewriting variables, conditions. Reality is being set into trial. Helena's alternate self stepped beside her, gaze sharp. A stress test for a nascent framework. If your third path collapses, the Sentinel will force a new architecture, one without you. Arthur clenched his fists. So either Karys's choice holds, or we get erased. Karys remained calm, black flame rising behind him like wings. I won't let this world fall. Not again. The Sentinel extended its hand, massive, metallic, shimmering with divine code. The trial begins at dawn. A beam of white flame pierced the sky, a signal, a summons. Across the world, forgotten constructs stirred, old powers awoke, dimensions realigned, Aetheryon itself inhaled. The tester had been activated. The Oath of the Four. As the Sentinel ascended into the sky, its enormous form dissolving into a cloud of radiant machinery, the four heroes stood together. Evangeline placed her hand on Karys's arm. We bought ourselves time. But dawn comes quickly. Arthur nodded, glancing toward the distant horizon. We'll need to regroup, strengthen ourselves, understand what the Sentinel awakened. Helena's alternate self spoke quietly. And decide what to do about me. I am not meant to exist, but now I do. Your third path made anomalies like me possible. Helena met her gaze without flinching. Then you stay. We face what comes together. Karys looked at all of them, the allies he never expected to have, bonded not by destiny, but by defiance. This isn't the end, he said. Evangeline smiled faintly. No. It's the beginning of the world we choose to make. They turned toward the horizon. The sky glowed with the first light of the coming trial. Aetheryon held its breath. Epilogue. A glimpse of the next episode. Beyond the northern reaches, across frozen seas and crystalline wastes, something stirred beneath the ice. A massive structure, older than the Sentinel, older than the Gates, awoke. Its core pulsed once, twice, then opened its eye. Query. Unmaker detected. Third path anomaly confirmed. Activating protocol Ascension. A second Guardian had awakened, but unlike the Sentinel, it did not come to judge, it came to claim. Our next episode. Teaser. Ascension Protocol. The Dawn trial begins. New guardians rise. The anomalies multiply. And a power buried before the first cycle prepares to reshape Aetheryon in its own image. The third path will face its greatest challenge yet. And not all who walk it will survive.